Welcome back to the Zero E Michigan podcast. I'm Carl Bloss, and my co-host is.
Larry Hudson.
I have with me today Abass El-Hage from Ready Charge. So welcome, Abass.
Thanks. Yeah, good to be here.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about the Ready Charging Network. Here in Michigan, we're starting to see your charging stations all over the place. So I wanted to give people an opportunity to kind of put a face with the name, what it's all about. I mean, a lot of people know ChargePoint, Electrify America, those kind of charging networks, but maybe don't know yours and how to activate and what it's all about. So tell me a little bit about who you are, as far as the company, how you got started, what's kind of the origin story of Ready.
Yeah. I'm a boss. I'm the CEO already and the founder. Myself, I've been working in electric vehicles for almost 20 years now. Worked with the supply base. Most recently, I was at Ford up until 2017. And I quit, started doing like my own consulting to advise on vehicles and different projects. And then kind of got looking at, we had some gas station customers that hired us. They knew that I was in the EV space. They reached out and asked if we could help them investigate charging. That kind of one thing led to another. There was the program going on. So we helped do the North American launch for a couple of EV charging manufacturers. We became their reseller, and they asked us to help them design their DC fast charger offering and spec it out to help meet kind of like the C-store market, given like the customers and the projects that we had. So after we doing that, again, we kind of became a reseller selling those. And then, around, I guess it was kind of during the COVID era, there were a bunch of municipalities in Michigan that needed some help. And so they actually had reached out and asked us to own and operate the chargers. So through doing that and being an owner, it's kind of seen a different side. It's one thing to spec out the hardware and do all that. It's another thing to operate them. And so we saw a lot of issues with reliability and things that we felt could easily be solved by the software on the network piece. So we built our own software and network. And then kind of from there, that's where we've grown to the three verticals that we have today. So we sell hardware. We have our test facility in downtown Detroit. That's where we're headquartered. So it's a full city block. It actually was like the Conyers, Senator Conyers. It's actually the old Conyers Ford dealership. It was actually one of the first Ford dealerships built in 1922. So it's pretty cool. So we have all different manufacturers of fast chargers set up. So we do all the different testing, spec out these chargers there. We sell them. We have the software that goes on units. So we offer kind of like turnkey packages if people want. And then we also own and operate sites ourselves. So that's kind of where we are today. Currently also working on a lot of microgrid battery storage. Michigan, we're pretty lucky, or at least in the lower peninsula, that we don't have demand charges, and the utilities are really supportive of charging, but it's not like that for the rest of the country. So there's a lot going on the battery and microgrid side. So.
Mm-hmm. What would the name is interesting. How did you guys come up with the name?
With Ready? Well, because we're working in the convenience store side. So that's kind of what's unique about us compared to everybody else. A few of the things, a lot of the reasons why, even on the software side, what we saw is there was basically failures and reliability issues for no reason. Gas pumps work every time.
Yeah.
Why does the charger not work every time? And the charger's not broken often. It's software. So you're pinging all these extra servers, making everybody go through apps and all these things. And so we really wanted to focus, in our opinion, like this. It's been 100 years of convenience stores and petroleum and people's habits. Why are we trying to disrupt that? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Gas stations are where the most convenient locations for traveling. They have the amenities, but also the experience of what people are used to. Put the nozzle in, swipe your card, and be done. So we really focused on that, and that's where we took the branding. We figured when you're driving down the highway 5 years from now, the same way you see a Shell logo and a BP, you're going to see charging. You're going to see a Ready. So what was something that's was kind of like a pun on Ready. Everything's we're always ready and available. But also the logo of just being a little red E It's kind of like Circle K. It's something kind of like could be easily identifiable, iconic. You know, if you're driving down the road, you see already, you could just, you know, kind of roll off the tongue. So that's kind of where we were.
Nice. The cabinet seems bigger than standard. Was there anything behind that, or are you guys trying to mimic gas stations more of that, or?
No, so the reason for that is there's a few reasons. So number one is they're all in one. So those cabinets can go up to 240 kilowatts, and they're all in one. So there's no separate cabinet. So a lot of times you'll see a separate cabinet and then a dispenser. So actually all the power packs are inside. So those cabinets, so even if it's like a 120 or 160 kilowatt charger, they can actually get bumped up in 20 kW increments all the way up to a 240 without having to replace, you know, just all the rest of them or most of the other stuff out there. You have to actually like rip it out and install a whole new unit. So that modularity, that upgradability is the way, you know, it helps us get more, you know, chargers out in the field. And then, you know, in a couple of years' time, you know, we can able to upgrade the power without swapping it out. So
nice. I like that.
So we do have a new one that's coming out as well. It's up to 475 kW, and that's kind of more traditional footprint. It's actually super slim dispenser, but with the separate cabinet.
Now, one of the first things I noticed when I encountered your chargers, which actually were level 2 chargers, and I think back then you used a lot of the NLX juice boxes, is that the QR code took you to a mobile web interface to pay, as opposed to yet another app and yet another system that I have to drop $10 in or $20 and then whittle down that balance. And I know that ticks a lot of people off because they have money tied up in it. So I thought that interface was very slick. Is that still what you're doing? I mean, ideally, if you just want to go to, like you said, gas station model, you put in your credit card and don't have to worry about apps. But kind of what's your approach there for payment?
Yeah, so so we have a few different options. So there is an app, and we do have an app, and you can pay via the app. But you're spot on. That was something that we thought was very, for lack of a better term, annoying. Is putting $30 minimum across all these different things and remembering them. So for us, it's like you can order. It should be just as easier. Like when you go to a restaurant, you scan the QR, you get a menu. Just scan the QR and take me to this charger, and I don't have to download anything. You know, that's been there. We've been working to improvements on that, so you don't even have to enter your card if it's saved on your phone. You know, Apple Pay or Google Pay can just kind of auto populate. So those are kind of new things that are rolling out. Even our newer level 2s also are having like the credit card reader. So a big thing for us is just that flexibility. Some people like having an app. Some people don't. Maybe you have your card. We're actually one of the only ones too when they're at convenience store locations. We can actually accept cash. You can like go inside and pay the attendant like $20 on pump 2. You can, so we can do that, which is kind of cool. And then the last one, which we're hoping to have out this summer, we've kind of done like a little bit, is we will have like RFID cards, kind of like a membership, where you kind of get like a reduced rate. You can kind of like, you know, you use your RFID and kind of top off, and then you don't need anything. You just tap it on the screen and it turns on.
Yeah, and I always find those are super reliable when all else fails, right?
Absolutely.
It's like Lord of the Rings. Like when all other lights go out, this one still works.
Exactly. And that's, you know, that's kind of the same thing as pinging all these extra servers. So that's kind of our preference is, you know, obviously the membership will be great. Those RFIDs will be great. The credit card is great because direct connection right there. Those are just the most reliable, you know, and then, you know, the QR is also works pretty well. So,
yeah. I have to say, I do like apps for certain things. I mean, one of the things you get with apps is live information about which chargers are available, which ones are offline, which ones are in use. And I actually didn't know that you had an app until I went to the Spring Lake ribbon cutting and I saw your colleague Harold, I believe it is there.
Yep.
And he was like, oh, we have an app. It's like, wait a minute, you have an app? I had no idea. And he says, well, let's not talk about it now because we're going to be upgrading. So tell me, where are you at with the app? Is it available now? Is there like a new version coming soon? Where are we at with that?
So it is available now. We are continually doing some upgrades kind of planned through the summer. Some like important ones, just kind of adding in features. So it does show like, you know, what charges are available and all that. It shows all the locations on the map, payments, can save the payments, things like that. So, and even on the app, the intent is for it to be very like minimal and straightforward. Not trying to do other things, not trying to collect data. And I think, those are things that, like, again, make problems where there aren't any in terms of reliability. So we're not like a data company, we're a charging company. So we're just trying to make it turn on and be reliable. So you can see the spot, you can see the whole map, you can select your location, start the charge, see the review, like the pricing, and hit start, and have it be there. And we're trying to keep it just to that. Also, obviously, also like your receipts and everything would go in there, but really keeping it simple. The new features are more along the lines of like plug and charge. We have some cool ways that we're hoping to launch here on that side as well. Some new plug and charge features. So,
I mean, reliability really is key, right? That's kind of what one of the things we're hearing about, that where everybody's coming back to the Tesla network, say, well, the one thing about Tesla's network is it tends to be reliable. There's redundancy. It just always works. Like if I know I pull up, and I have a Tesla Model Y, but I also have a Kia Niro that doesn't use the superchargers. So, to me, reliability is key. So if that's something that you can tackle with your system just by making it simpler, I think that's a huge win, right? Because at the end of the day, you just want to be able to charge and move on.
yeah, no, absolutely. To me, I mean, if it's not reliable, the whole thing kind of falls apart. And stuff happens. Tesla, anybody,
Sure.
stuff happens. Things break. But the big thing too that we really focused on the software is also like our support. So we're 24/7 live. It's actually, for the most part, all of our team is in Michigan, but everybody's US based. It's an engineer answering the phone. So I mean, 3 rings, you're getting a live person, and we're able to solve about 96% of all issues in under, like, most of our calls are actually like under 3 minutes. So somebody having an issue, we're actually able to do it. Talk them through it on the phone, do a reset, do any configurations, because an engineer answering the phone to be able to get them back on the road. Obviously, sometimes something's actually physically, things might break or that, but for the vast majority of everything, it's that support, has been key to keeping everybody back on the road.
Yeah, and I think that's huge. I've actually called the number when I had our company F-150 Lightning, it was fairly new on the market. And I don't know if there was some handshaking issue, but I called, and like you said, somebody answered right away. I told them what the issue is, where I was, and they're like, okay, let me pull it up. Okay, yeah, let me reboot the station. So we went through a couple of iterations, and they were able to get me charging right away. And again, at the end of the day, that's really what you want. And so kudos for that.
Yeah, no, thanks. And it is a harder piece too. Like, Tesla's got a little bit easier job to date. They're just starting to like expand. But they're only talking to each other. So when you're talking about handshakes and things like that, it's kind of easy.
Yeah,
It's a closed network
right. It's
system.
the walled garden. Yep.
But and that's what we see all this. That's where our testing site in Detroit has been really like super helpful, because there's all kinds of issues and different things that we've seen. Whether and we've had Ford, GM, BMW, Volvo, Polestar, pretty much everybody's come and tested that facility, do interoperability. And so we learn all sorts of things from that we take and then try and improve stuff on our end, because there is like little idiosyncrasies, like the Hummer has 2 batteries. So when one gets full, it was like telling the machine that SOC, the state of charge, was full, and so then it would actually shut off. So kind of working through, all right, how do we not see that and keep it on? So keeps it interesting for sure.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like Apple computers and having their iOS. So it's a kind of a closed wall system. Whereas if you have a Windows system, it can be a Dell, it can be an Acer, it can be a whatever, an HP. And so you have to be able to handle all that. So yeah,
Exactly.
I imagine that's not the easiest thing. So you have to test all this interoperability.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that dealership, like, is that open to the public? Like you could bring your new F-150 and just practice, okay, which ones, and learn how to use them, or no?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Yeah, it's open to the public. Sometimes, when OEMs are there, like we'll book it off and block it off. There's like a little scheduling thing that we do. But for the most part, it's totally open to the public.
And then with you being at Ford, can you speak to, is there any relationships in the future coming?
So for now, we're one of the Blue Oval certified networks, or one of the few there. So you can actually turn on and off and pay for all your charging on the Ready network using the Blue Oval app. So like actually using your Ford My Pass or so being part of that network enables that. So that's kind of like the main thing. We also are doing their new Michigan Central Station downtown Detroit. We just put in at the new lab facility there, put in some fast chargers and level 2s. So just kind of working on certain projects more on the real estate side that way. But yeah, the network integration was a big one. So we wrapped that up towards the end of the year. So now you can fully integrate it with the Blue Oval network.
I know that we interviewed Jeff Denoyer with the Ford dealership in Vicksburg, and they were struggling with whatever level.
It was a DCFC, but I don't know who they were using.
I think I'm familiar. I'm familiar with the hardware and the project. It wasn't us. We worked with Denoyer on some of them, but there's a couple different family members in different locations, and I don't know which. I know we've done some, but I think the other ones it might have been like some of the older like Tritium 50s. I think, but yeah.
I was just wondering, is there like incentives? You're a Michigan-based company, and it sure be nice that all the dealerships would use you guys, right? Instead of, because where's Charge Points, California, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And
we have done a bunch of dealerships to date. And so there's kind of like the way on the dealership side, the way it goes is like a lot of the OEMs will spec in. They'll have like kind of like preferred providers, but it's up to the dealer at the end of the day to kind of choose who they want. So we did a whole bunch with like the Southeast Michigan Ford dealer group. Did a bunch through there. We did a bunch like nationwide. But at the end of the day, the dealers can pick and choose, what they want to do. And there's different tiers too that they have to do, or at least for Ford, whether they want to be like certified or certified elite, how many they put in, what speed, things like that. So.
And then, are you guys already installing in other states, or you're just right now focusing on Michigan?
No, we work. We operate nationwide, so we're doing a lot in the Northeast right now, like Massachusetts, Connecticut, Maryland. We're also doing a really big push and doing a ton in the Southwest. So Texas, like the Dallas, North Texas, West Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, doing a ton over there as well.
Wow.
So yeah, we've done stuff all over. Literally, we've done projects in Hawaii and Maine, so pretty much anywhere. But we're focused more on the gas station, like the off-highway stuff, like we've been doing in Michigan. The big push right now is in the southwest part of the country, and then on the East Coast.
What about the Tesla charger? How's that all rolling out for you guys?
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. How are you handling the whole NACS transition?
Yeah, so all of our stuff is upgradable. We basically swap out a cable. The cable swap takes about 15 minutes, so we can just change one of the cables. So like a station, like kind of like the one behind you, where you got 4 ports. We'd probably put one NACS, one CCS on each one, so you got an option on everything. I do think it's a little premature at this point, because right now, today, there's still more Tesla chargers than non-Tesla chargers in the country available. And none of the OEMs on the vehicle side actually have a NACS cable yet, or a NACS port yet, outside of Tesla. So, I think we're going to start seeing that more on the vehicle side when it rolls out more in 2025, 2026. When the vehicles are start doing that is when we'll start, kind of going through and doing like the cable replacements. We also have we have the capability, which is going to go out on some of these, where it's like Tesla's Magic Dock. So basically, you're going to select CCS or NACS. So instead of having one of each cable, it's going to be both connectors in one on one cable.
I've actually seen one of those in California. I think it was an EV Go station, and they had upgraded to a NACS. But what they essentially did is they had a captive CHAdeMO adapter, right?
So yeah, they glue it on.
Yeah. Well, no, they didn't glue it on. They actually had like a little receptacle, so you could still pull the CHAdeMO out if you had a Nissan Leaf or something.
Gotcha.
But if you kept it there, then if you looked around the back of that unit, I think I actually did a quick video on it. But around the back of the unit, then you had a NACS connector. But unfortunately, it was limited to 50 kW. But if you were kind of stuck, hey, 50 kW is better than like 6, right? So
yeah, absolutely.
I thought that was pretty clever.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that. This is going to be a little it's going to be a lot smaller and neater. So really, it's going to look
Yeah.
nothing different than what is in there today. It's really just going to push the button, and it's either going to come out with the NACS cable or without it.
Yeah,
So it's depending
like
on what button
like the Magic Dock, if you've seen
yeah,
those.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like up
Exactly.
in Mackinac City, the supercharger
Yeah,
there has the Magic Dock, and then if you don't have a Tesla, you basically push it in, and then out pops the CCS adapter, and you plug it into your Chevy Bolt or whatever.
exactly.
I've seen a lot of your stations come up even without NEVI funding, and like the one behind me here in Spring Lake, Michigan, that one was done pre-NEVI, and that whole thing took a lot longer than I think everybody thought here in Michigan. It's probably a whole other podcast episode about why that is, but you're having to probably deal with MDOT now and other entities, of course, Consumers Energy. That's how I got to know you when I was there. So tell me a little bit about NEVI and what that means for you.
Yeah, so I mean, NEVI's really interesting to me. It's like only a part of the puzzle. It's an important part right now for sure, helping build out like these highway corridors. So we're doing a lot. We're doing about between us and like some we do projects for like our partners, like customers of ours, whether we own them or they do. Doing about 20 NEVI sites in Michigan. Um, and then obviously we're doing a bunch in other states as well. So New Mexico, Texas, Virginia, Maryland. We got 17 more. We're doing in Illinois. So there's all different types of incentives that help make. So I guess there's two ways to view it. It's at the end of the day, the financials have to make sense for a site. So the better the traffic, the more it's going to perform because these are expensive equipment and the installation is expensive. So you got to be able to recoup that investment in a reasonable amount of time. So when there's incentives, like whether it's like utility rebates or NEVI funding, those help do projects that wouldn't be financially viable otherwise, right? So like areas like the UP, it's really vital. It's really hard to road trip across the UP. But it's also the traffic is really not as busy as the traffic in wherever like in the UP is not the same as on Telegraph.
Sure. Although I would think if you stuck a charger like halfway between Mackinac City or St. Ignace really and Escanaba, you'd really have something. I think you'd have a captive audience for some time. Of course, the question is like, how is the utility to deal with up there and those kind of things, and how is it to get power?
Yeah, so there's a few different pieces. So one is yes, so there is definitely like a big need, and that's where like the NEVI funding and those different programs are super helpful. Because even though there's a big need and you have a captive audience, still as far as like a traffic number relative to like the most remote place, or not maybe the most remote, but like places in like California or whatever, it's still like night and day. So those incentives help. The other challenge with the UP is there's like a lot of like demand charges, which basically adds on to the cost. So of the price, I mean, getting power out there because they're more remote, but then also the demand charge really impacts like the financials of a project. So generally when we do stuff in the UP or areas like that, we have to do a battery buffer. So now you're adding in a battery to the cost of the project. It's more expensive, so you need even more traffic to justify kind of like the project. So
yeah, understood. So we talked a lot about DC fast charging. I know again, my first encounter with Ready was level 2 charging. I think it was up in Manistee, which is one of my favorite places to ride my Zero motorcycle, which only has level 2 charging. So what's the future for level 2 for Ready? I know it's probably hard to make any money when you're only charging 25, 35 cents per kilowatt hour, but what does that look like for you? Is there any opportunity there with hotels and apartments, things like that?
Yeah, so we do a lot of projects on the level 2. We still like really do a lot of that. It's just more where we help customers. So like real estate developers, hotels, like you mentioned, municipalities doing fleets, right? So we advise, or they run on our network, or oftentimes even they already bought 4 chargers, and now they have like an apartment building. They already bought 4 chargers, and then they want 4 more from us. So we'll put all of them, the existing 4 on the network, and then we'll add 4 more, things like that. basically to help them do it. As far as us doing sites, we still do some of that. Where we kind of like own the site or we make the investment and help out. But it's really our focus now for those projects is really like the highway, the fast charger projects. But we definitely still, very much involved on the level 2 side. But it's more kind of helping out, customers and, real estate developers and things like that, meet their goals that they're looking to do.
Okay. I mean, I just got back from a road trip from Florida and I found that the level 2 charging hotels was just hugely helpful for me personally. I would have been willing to pay for it. I mean, a lot of the hotels, they give it away for free, but if you pull in there and they say, hey, it's 25, 35 cents per kilowatt hour, I would still be willing to pay it because that's one less stop that I need to make the next day. It's like charging at home. So I still think that there's a value there, but I just don't know from, the network side, is there still a value proposition there?
I think level 2, I think there's still a huge place for it. I think it makes a ton of sense for the reasons that you're saying, workplace, things like that, as an amenity. And it's two different types of things. Like when you're road tripping, hotels, to me, it's vital. To me, in a few years, EV chargers at hotels is going to be like Wi-Fi. It's going to be weird if you don't have it.
Right.
But aside from or same thing for like maybe new like apartments and things, it's going to be an expected amenity that you have. It's super convenient. As far as owning it like on a network side, I think it's tougher because again, the margins are small. You don't really want to charge a lot for a level 2. It's a much less expensive project, and you're inherently limited to the number of people that can use it per day, just because they take longer. So like on the fastest side, we do have like an 80 amp level 2. But most cars, that's still going to take 3 or 4 hours. So realistically, just max, you're going to have 2 to 3 cars a day that use that charger. So you are definitely have like a limit and kind of like an upper cap. So I think level 2 makes a lot of sense for people that have other, like the property owners themselves or the businesses themselves, because it's an additional revenue stream for them. It's not their core business. So it's not like they're relying on just making money from that, but it brings in customers. It's a nice amenity to have, and it is some additional revenue stream. It's just not that's what they're living off of. So
Right. Yeah, like you said, it differentiates them between one hotel to another or one apartment to another. I mean, I deliberately pick out my hotels based on who's got charging and who doesn't. So, like you said, in a couple of years, it'll be like, yeah, if you don't have it, just nobody's going to come there.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Larry, it looked like you were about to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was just curious with you working at Ford. Can you share a little bit about, were you part of like the Mach-E production? Did you get in on all that? What were you doing there?
So I was in charge of cost. So I was there. I left in 2017. So it was actually prior to any of the vehicle launches, before they actually made any vehicles. So predominantly what we were doing, what I was in charge of, was we were taking apart Tesla, Leaf, BMW i3, the stuff that was available at the time, ripping it apart, the powertrain, so batteries and motors, and benchmarking it, doing cost studies, working through the supply base to identify, like what's best practices, best materials, setting cost targets, performance targets for the vehicles, things like that.
Okay. I was always surprised how fast it seemed like the Mach-E just came out of nowhere. And I was always like, wow, where were they working on that at? And I thought, it does look a little bit like the Jaguar, and Ford and Jaguar were together. I wonder if that was like their test platform or something, but
yeah, they've been working on it for a while. I mean, and Ford had I own one, the electric Ranger. I mean, that was back in like early 2000s, like the round kind of like original Ranger. That was a factory EV. They mostly sold them to like universities or like, the postal service, stuff like that. But that stuff was out there. So it's kind of been brewing for a long time. I think it was more like on the business side, making the numbers work for Ford. The business case there, I thought that the market was there enough and that they were at a competitive place to be able to launch it.
Okay. Cool. Thanks.
So kind of wrapping things up, if drivers want to learn more, or if potential, site hosts want to learn more, just go to your website, Ready Charge. What's the best way to go there?
Yeah, readycharge.com. is a good way. There's ways to, there's like some buttons or forms, like our phone numbers on there. Always happy to reach out. Like I said, our test site and chargers are always open. So if anybody would to stop by, we're right downtown Detroit. Yeah, on the website, there's ways to, put in inquiries, if they're interested in being a site host, for that side, or, people just kind of looking to learn more information. And we're going to be, again, I think we're going to have some new programs coming up, kind of like around the RFID programs. We got like a new leasing program and things like that we're going to be launching. So hopefully we're trying to be a little bit more proactive too on the marketing side of things. We've been really focused on just doing it, and so now we're kind of getting a little bit of a chance to breathe, to kind of like talk a bit more about what we've been up to. So I really appreciated this opportunity for sure.
Yeah, cool. No, I think the reliability thing to me is huge. If I come to a ready station, I'm like, yeah, I know this is going to work. Or if it doesn't work right off the bat, I can call somebody and they'll get it to work. And again, to me, that's huge. So, but then, it'd be good for that message to get out to drivers and to those that are looking to be hosts to say, if I'm going to put a ready charge station here, we know that it's going to be reliable and then it's going to draw in business.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not solo. It should be working. And then, we've had really good uptime and reliability, thankfully. And so that's something we're really proud of. But even if stuff does happen, somebody's going to be there, pick up the phone and make sure that you're back on the road quickly. That's, for sure.
Yeah. And that's awesome.
Yeah. Because again, like you were pointing out, that's been a big problem with ChargePoint, the other reliability, Charge America, right? That's been a big problem. 10 years ago, when I first started plugging in, Kalamazoo had more chargers than any other city. But now we have a lot of chargers that just don't work. All these old charge points are just sitting around, not even functional. So
yeah. Well, that's one thing too that I think, so we have a pretty cool program. We do it's kind of like a rip and there's two parts. So one is a lot of it, again, can be fixed with software. So we do a ton of that right now. So basically, if something's broke, ChargePoint's kind of its own thing because they don't let you put anybody else's. It's kind of a closed network, kind of like the Apple iOS type of deal. But any other manufacturer, we're able to put our software on it, which we normally see it for fast chargers as well, right? See a pretty big bump in reliability, and oftentimes it's just something like that. It fell offline or somebody didn't pay attention, their SIM card expired. If there's nobody watching it and monitoring it, it doesn't work. So we have a program like that. It's actually no cost, where we'll go in and we'll kind of take it over and get those assets back online. And in the case that we can't, that they're broken, we have like a rip and replace program. So it's like, okay, it's super cost effective to just kind of like, swap out. You already got the infrastructure, you got the hard part there, you already had the power. It's just getting that box and getting it replaced. So yeah, if anybody does see those, definitely, feel free to reach out. We got a pretty solid program. I'm happy to get those fixed. Those are fun.
Well, do me a favor.
Right, cool.
Reach out to the city of Hart, Michigan. They have this old ChargePoint unit that just keeps going offline, back online. Then it's offline again. And then maybe somebody finally gets around to paying ChargePoint leases again or whatever. And that thing is such a pain in the ass. And it's such a great location because it's right next to a pizza place. There's a coffee shop. It's like the perfect place. But then they fumbled it. And I don't know. I would love to see something more reliable there. I've actually gone around the corner and they have like one of those campground boxes with a NEMA 1450. And I've literally plugged in my Tesla mobile charger there when that other one wasn't working. And I don't even feel guilty because the city was giving away the electricity. So there's really no difference. So I don't know. Maybe there's an opportunity there.
No, I'm with you. I wrote down Hart, Michigan. I'm definitely gonna let the team know and have somebody reach out for sure.
Awesome. All right. Any final words from Reddy?
No, I mean, we're just really appreciate appreciate the opportunity to kind of chat through this stuff. And on our end, we're really excited. We got a lot going on. I think you guys are gonna see by the end of this year, probably maybe double the footprint on the fast charging side. So I think it's gonna be really cool and make road tripping around Michigan for EV drivers a heck of a lot easier this year for sure.
Awesome.
So.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being here. And to our listeners, we'll catch you next time. If you enjoyed or learned from this episode of Zero E Michigan, please subscribe to us on your favorite podcast platform. Visit our YouTube channel for other related videos at youtube.com/@0E-Michigan.